points that we talked about, particularly, as per the goal of surveys, you indicated 50% of the organizations took longer than 6 months, and that process could be too cumbersome. It's often one shoe fits all kind of approach, which may not be right. So, Edge, what's your view on that?
Is it on? Yep. I guess the aim of the topic
so,
today...
So what's the solution to that?
Solution to that. So most multi-country and contracts are very complex, we know that. And most organisations, and what I always get concerned, and I always say this to my team, follow the organisation that has a boilerplate solution to the offshoring solution. And you'll find that's an organisation that's struggling. You must look at a holistic point of view to a contract, to offshoring, look at the people side, look at how you measure it. It's a lot more broad than just SLAs or coming up with contracts. That is probably the smaller part of what an organisation should be looking at. The holistic view on a multi-country contracts, where the issues need to be addressed first.
So from that's coming from a consultant kind of approach where we've seen both the demand and supply side. Chandra, what do you think from your perspective?
I think firstly, if you're talking about doing an outsourcing contract in 6 months, it's not a long time. I think outsourcing is a long-term relationship that you're trying to establish. So if you're able to do a good job of it, satisfactory contract, the right POEDA, the right governance model in 6 months' time, you've done a pretty good job. But usually the delays occur primarily because of 3 or 4 reasons. Number one, the objective and the commitment to that objective is not there or fully established. Okay, it's not one man's job. When a company decides to outsource in a big scale, there has to be alignment across all stakeholders in the firm. If that has been decided and the alignment has been bought in, then as long as you put the right people in place, and whether it is a third-party consultant or you've hired somebody to do it and follow the right process, you can do a good job in 6 months.
Byron, both from the process point of view, whether it's taking too long or there should be some kind of customization, as well as the benefit points that Sandeep touched on.
I've been through a lot of these agreements with a lot of people in this room. And I think there's several issues that you see very regularly. There is a point of diminishing return absolutely on time spent. And in fact, just getting back to the people element of it, particularly when you get vendor management or procurement having a very long protracted argument with your future partner, it sours the relationship and it damages the relationship. I think where some of the fundamental failures in the process are, as it goes from executive management down to the people who actually have to do the work, there is a loss of communication there. And what happens is the deal's getting much more complex as they go down into the organization. And then we pull people in, our advisors in this, so we pull legal firms and other folks in that are largely there from a CYA perspective to make sure that someone's covered their ass and we're not doing something that's adverse to the firm. But this is the cascade that happens, and you end up with these very complicated agreements. I've inherited some contracts that are close to 2,000 pages long. And when you really look at them, you find how little of all the T's and C's and the detail and the fine print is actually followed on an ongoing basis. And it's one of the reasons I'm here, not only in NASSCOM, but visiting some of our providers, is just to really align on what are the big outcomes we're looking for in 2007. I got the 2,000-page agreement that was papered 3 years ago, but what makes this year a successful year? And that's a 2-3-page document. That's it. And then, we're all held to, if things go off the rails, to the agreements. But at this point, the organizations are mature enough, and I think, as Edge said, these things are working reasonably well. I mean, we have some problems with them, so it's really focusing on how do we get as much value out of this as possible. I think that's the themes that people have when they think about outsourcing and they think about partnering, but it's not actually how they're executed. And I think it's one of the things that's incumbent for the outsource providers to do is connect themselves higher in the organization. If you're relegated to only dealing with procurement, That's a fundamental problem in the process, and you have to find ways to connect with the people who are the ultimate drivers of these processes.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, measuring benefits is again, the softer aspect of it as well as the harder, the people issues and cultural fit. What you are saying is very important. H, what's been your experience?
Yeah, I guess just going from Brian's point about managing SLAs or contracts and stuff, when we'll go back to the survey, when we asked the question about are you happy, there were 4 or 5 things that the person or the CEO had in their head that they were happy about. One, did I get the cost savings or the reductions that I want? Am I getting my productivity improvements? Am I ensuring that I'm keeping or getting better service delivery for my customers? And it's amazing that all gets lost in the ether. And when people then talk about measurement, they get down to the very detailed in procurement. You forgot to, on this particular date, have 95% of our systems to be up. Well, all the other days are all at 99%. Now, you can have, and I've seen this in organisations, have the protracted discussions, disagreements with vendors. But when the discussion comes from what are the top 10 things or 5 things that I need to achieve my business outcome, this is where I need to go. Let me tell you, that's best practice. And the vendors, and I've even said this to the vendors, that's how you are going to get what you want, which is more, monetary value out of that organisation, and that organisation getting their business outcomes, which could be cost reductions or could be efficiencies and productivity. It's got to be kept very simple.
Chandra, we've been hearing about, we talked about, cultural fit and, TCS, for example, is got centers. Other day you were telling me that you've got large centers in Brazil, which you didn't expect. How do you go about, serving your customers and also making sure that, culturally, the fitness, both sides is there?
I think fundamentally what we need to do when we are serving customers on a global basis, you should be able to give one service standard irrespective of whether you serve the customer from India or from Brazil or from any other part of the world. Similarly, the customer could be in the US or could be in China, anywhere else. So that's complex. Okay, that means that you're not only deploying those processes, but you're inducting, training, integrating people very well. That's from our organization perspective or from a vendor perspective. Then from a customer perspective, I think there is a cultural sensitization that's required as well. Okay, because when they begin to work with different cultures, what we say and what we understand is not exactly what they think they heard or what they think they said. So it's good to reorient both teams on respective cultures. We have a program going for all our customers, especially for those who have not had experience of offshoring or with Indian or other parts of the world. So where we take them through the cultural sensitivities and the meanings of soft science, if you will. Okay, so that helps a lot, and there's a lot of team building effort that has to go in, and the first couple of pilot projects have to be done with a view to learn. Okay, you don't start measuring the first project on the SLAs and then start saying that X didn't do it, Y didn't deliver, and so on. So you got to do a couple of projects to